When it comes to GvG, the number one most important thing about attacking changing the things in the ways that I'm going to tell you is going to improve your GvG game so much. So I think to start off with the basics, what we're going to go ahead and, or what I'm going to go ahead and explain is how to quick affiliate. The quick affiliation, if you don't know, is essentially the button will affiliate your units from left to right, strongest to least strong units. So essentially you want to have your most important units on the left to make them the strongest, and then you put your less important units for the fight on the right. So that also kind of brings us into essentially knowing which units you want to affiliate higher. As you can see, we're going after this attack, or we're attacking this team. Thank you to Mortar Mike for letting me bully him, even though I didn't ask him, I'm just bullying him instead. And we're going to kind of think this through. So first of all, a way to beat this is to kill Regulus, go through, as you can see. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the tank to kind of draw fire, because I know that he won't get hit since there's not a lot of physical damage here or piercing damage. And then we're going to go in with our axes, our shadow keepers or whatever they're called, and then we're going to breeze through. If I affiliated things low, I might lose because they're not affiliated properly. They won't do as much damage, they won't live as long, all of that stuff. So instead, we're going to be affiliating the most important guys on the left, like this. And then we're going to bring in the next attacker. Generally, you want to have your DPS on the left, although it does vary. And then I'm going to have my healers and then my tanks. Flyers are just kind of there as a placeholder because I wasn't sure what else to put. We're going to quick affiliate, make sure that it is all affiliated properly, which it is. I don't know what the flyers are there. I just have them. They're not going to get placed, but this is just kind of an example. But now, since we've affiliated left to right properly, we can kind of go and do some damage. We're going to use the tanks to kind of just draw Boreas ult out of him, because the Boreas ult will kill our axes, which will then lead to them dying before killing Regulus, and that's not good. So we're going to essentially draw fire because these guys eat up magic damage. We're going to wait a little bit, and I affiliated them low because I knew they would live because they're so strong. And now we're going to put down our highest affiliation, also our most important units, the DPS. and then they're going to go ahead, kill Regulus, and then will lead to a victory, essentially. As you can see, destroying everyone, and we win. So that's how it goes. If I didn't do it properly, we might not have won. So that's kind of the basics. That's all you got to know. So let's go into how to maximize your BP. So obviously your affiliation changes depending on your BP. Also a couple of factors which I will go to later, but for the most part you just need to know how to gear everyone properly. So as you can see, if we sort by battle power, my top 5 are very high because I've maxed them as much as I can. My gear is not too insane. I know a lot of people in my guild can get 100k plus on everything, which is really, really good, but I can't do that, so whatever. Let's go into the stats though. So I'm going to start with Silas, my highest battle power person, because he has the best battle power build, I would say, or at least a really good one. So for Silas, as you can see, this is not a good Silas build. This Silas build is terrible for Silas. It's not good. We're getting a lot of attack, not a lot of crit damage, and we're getting a little too much attack speed. Doesn't make a big difference, but that is something to point out. You might be saying, hey, this is a bad Silas, right? Why is it built like this? And that's because certain stats are weighted differently, like I mentioned earlier. And the stat that's weighted highest among them all is attack. So attack is insanely important. You should always, if you're trying to maximize your battle power, focusing on having attack builds. As you can see, I am only running attack, and I'm getting the most out of it. The left, I have Warlord. Warlord gives attack. I have multiple things giving tons of attack. That's just kind of the gist of it, is you want to focus as much attack as you possibly can. Another thing to note is attack speed actually is really important. Attack speed is crazy important, although it doesn't really outweigh the attack. So if you can, as you can see, that lowers barely. I lowered my BP by about 500 by making that change, proving that attack is still better than attack speed mains. It's still fairly close. Certain heroes are weighted differently when it comes to this stuff, but like as you could see, crit damage alone, despite having a better force stat, will kill my BP. Even though we're getting some attack here, it still kills my BP because the fact of the matter is, the more attack, the better. Crit damage obviously is still important, but nowhere near the same level. As you can see, these two are the same for Arrogance. Don't know why. Arrogance is kind of an exception. But anyways, back to this. So basically the main 3 stats you want to focus are: number 1 is attack, number 2 is attack speed, and number 3 is actually crit rate. So you might be thinking, hey, your crit rate's a bit low, shouldn't you be getting it to 100% for max BP? And while I would say that is a good suggestion, it doesn't actually make that big of a difference. So essentially attack speed and crit rate, I'm pretty sure. I know crit rate, it does apply. Attack speed, I think it does, but I'm not 100% sure. The more you have of it, the less important it becomes. So essentially when you go from 0% crit rate to 30% crit rate, you're going to get a bigger boost than going from 30% crit rate to 60% crit rate, if that makes sense. So incrementally over time, the more crit rate you have, the less more crit rate will benefit your heroes in terms of battle power. That's something to note as well. Moving on though to the sets, now that we kind of know the main stats, obviously you got to focus crit damage too, but that's more of a 4th stat to focus. Moving on to the sets though, something that's actually really interesting is you might see a lot of my units having sets on and all that stuff. As you can see, we have a lot of sets. So you might be thinking sets give a big difference, right? Which set is the best? And while there is a definitive best set in the game for battle power, it's not really what you think. So first of all, you might be thinking, hey, don't you need a full set for the most battle power? And while you might not be wrong, it still gives some, it actually you are wrong if you think that, because sets don't actually give any battle power. As you can see, I made a broken set. We don't have a set on. So you would think, hey, wouldn't putting the Soulbound Arcana ring on, which I just did, be bad? Wouldn't it lower the battle power? Well, as you saw right there, no, it actually raises it. Because the fact of the matter is, sets do not give battle power. So I could do broken sets. I just do full sets because it looks nicer and it doesn't make the biggest difference, and it's just easier on me for other content because obviously you still have to use your units. But as you could see there, sets do not give battle power, which is insane. It's just the pieces themselves, except for one. So you might not know this, but there is actually one set that gives battle power. I'll get to in a second. I just first of all have to mention that the left side pieces do give battle power for the sets. The best ones being Warlord, obviously. Calamity is the second, and then Annihilating Might is the third best. So those still give battle power. You still want to mix and match those as best you can, focusing on attack ideally. If I had attack flat right here, that would be beautiful. I know my Arrogance has an attack flat as my 4th stat. This type of thing is what you want to aim for left side chest plates and stuff like that. That's besides the point. The only set that gives battle power is Ageless Wrath. It's the only one. It gives more battle power. So let's do the same general test. Here I'm going to take this attack speed, and then we're going to put on this attack speed. So you might be thinking, hey, this one gives more attack, right? Better stats, all the stuff. Rage Regen is more than the HP bonus, I'm pretty sure. If I put it on, I actually lose battle power, despite the piece being better for battle power, because the set actually gives a little bit of BP. So ideally, in a perfect world, you would have everyone in really good Ageless Wrath sets with attack bonus, either attack speed or attack bonus, and then attack bonus, and then you have good attack rolls on the left, all of that stuff. But if you can only do 1 or 2 sets, ideally you would have Ageless Wrath be on your best one. I think though my Silas will lose it because I think my Infernal Roars are so goated. But if you have a really good Ageless Wrath, there is no beating it. And the reason why it gives BP and the other ones don't is because it gives a flat 30% crit damage instantly. So it's kind of similar to the left side pieces where it instantly gives you those stats. And no other set in the game on the right will do that, because these are all basic attack damage. Extra damage, you know, like this one gives more HP, but tanks and healers give no BP. So that's not useful. So basically, Ageless Wrath is the only set that you really want to be focusing on if you can help it. Obviously, not everyone has infinite sets, so that's okay. Moving on though to the artifacts, let me talk about the most important ones. So there are a couple things to talk about. One is exclusives, and one is the best ones for each. So first of all, obviously the mythic artifacts are going to be the best. Obviously, like, you will not have any legendary ones because they will bring you down. You get more base stats from these, you want to have them max, but certain artifacts give more. Not all are created equally. So for Marksman, I think Marksman has the most balanced artifacts in terms of battle power. Spirit Siphon is tied for Bloodbond Signet, Reaper's Emblem, and Sharpshooter Crest. See if we put it on. It doesn't show the BP changing, and it is not different because Sharpshooter Crest gives the same as Spirit Siphon, etc., etc. So just keep that in mind. Moving on though to the mages. The mages obviously is Tear of Twilight by far. It is not close. You should always just have Tear of Twilight for everything for mages. And then for melee fighters, you want to have Wailing Skull. Wailing Skull goes far and away the most. If I put this on, I know it's not max, so it does have a bit of a discrepancy. It should be similar, right? But no, we lose 2,000 freaking BP because Wailing Skull is so many miles ahead of everything else in terms of BP for those artifacts that it's impossible just not to go with it. So I would just put those on. Another thing to note is exclusives. So I'm running the exclusive for Hatset. These two actually will give me more. I'm not going to equip it because it's so much switching of the gear, but this gives more than like this. For example, my Bloodbond Signet will give less, even though it is higher level. So the exclusive is better, but some maxed artifacts is better than base exclusives generally. Like, for example, the Tear of Twilight is far, far better than Twin Fiends. So, like, if it was maxed, the Twin Fiend would be better, but obviously it makes a big difference. It does change. Moving on though, we got to talk about the heroes as the final kind of topic. The heroes debatably are the most important. As you can see, these are my 5, but there are actually 5 heroes better than this. Well, 3 or 4 heroes better than this. Silas is in the top 5, but let's just go over it. So first of all, certain heroes are better than others for battle power. There are 7 I want to talk about that you should be focusing on. Otherwise, just kind of focus whoever you can. Obviously, everyone is different. So the best battle power character by far is Uridan. Uridan is by far the best. He has the highest base stats, the highest base attack. I don't know how it's scaled, but he has the highest BP. You know, his stats are insane. He's insane for battle power. He's far and away the best. With a good Ageless Wrath set, not even a great one, you could easily get 110k BP off of him at A0, Awaken 0. It's insane. He's far and away the best. At A5, you can get him well over 120k BP. It's insane. He has so much, and it's actually just absurd. He's by far the best. But a second, not a close second, but second, is actually Setram. Setram has insane battle power, and I'm not sure why, but he does. So Setram, I'm not sure why it is. His base stats don't cry out, hey, I'm the second highest BP character. Well, maybe he's the third, but I'll get to the other one later when I talk about Lords. You might be guessing already. It's Praetos, by the way. But anyways, so Setram is the second highest. At A0, Awaken 0, you can get him to like 100k pretty easily. I say easily lightly because it is still difficult, but you can still get him to 100k fairly easily. And then next after that is actually Valkyria. Valkyria you can get once again to like 100k off of a couple awakenings and stuff. Valkyria gets a lot from skill ups. Skill ups also give BP, I should say. They give different amounts. So this one gives like 1.5k each level. This one gives like 500, stuff like that. So if you need a bit of a little more BP, you could always skill them up. But Valkyria is third, not including H2 exclusives except for Uridan, who needs to be mentioned. Thalin is also very high. I don't know where he ranks, but he is very high. And then Silas actually is insanely high too. With a decent Infernal War set and a couple of Awakenings, you can get him 100k BP purely fine, like fairly easily. And he's very easy to get high BP on. So Silas is up there as well. And also Cratch actually is very high. So Cratch, you can get an A0 Cratch maxed out with a good Ageless Wrath set to like 98,000 BP or something. And A5 Cratch can get like 105, 110. It's insane. Cratch actually has a use if you get him to A5. He is very good. And then some other ones, just kind of honorable mentions like Vierna, Boreas, Comet give a decent amount. Like healers are generally pretty bad for it. You know, there's a lot of things like Hex, Hatset, Razak gives a decent amount, stuff like that. As long as you have a lot of awakenings, you can kind of go with anything. I would just experiment with what you have, and who knows, maybe someone will surprise you. Like Shamir, A5 Shamir might be good. You know, like who knows? Differs for everyone. Moving on though to the final thing of the video, I think, is Lords. So there are two Lords in particular that give insane BP, those being Twin Fiend and especially Praetus. And Lords actually operate very differently for two different reasons. One is for Maw. Maw is a reward for getting 50,000 blood in Guild Boss in one attempt on Nightmare 4. And he can only be affiliated with Lords. As you can see here, only Lords are clickable. It doesn't really matter which Lord. And as you can see, Lords get a massive amplifier. Twin Fiend gets essentially double the battle power, as he usually has, which is absurd. So if you want to really maximize your Maw, put a Twin Fiend, put a Praetus, something like that, and you'll maximize it. You could do something like a Raka, you could use like whatever, but Twin Fiend and Praetus are by far the best. Also, another thing to note is they actually get bonuses. So as we could see right here, Twin Fiend is my fourth highest affiliation. He's about 87.5, while I have two people who are at 90k BP, which obviously is higher. But if we go over here to whatever random demon soldier, you can see that Twin Fiend is actually number 2 here, because he actually gets a bonus, because Lords actually get bonuses. So Praetus can easily go over 100k in this kind of menu because he gets that bonus. I think it's like 1.05 or like 1.1 or something. It might have been buffed, I don't know. But just keep in mind that Lords get higher bonuses, so if you can get a Lord very high up, even if I had another unit, if we go over here, even if I had another unit at 90k, if I had 5 units at 90k and Twin Fiend was at 88, Twin Fiend would still be better than my 5th, if that makes sense. So just keep that in mind too. But I think that's kind of everything we had to cover. Make sure to try to affiliate as best you can. Just knowing how to do it, getting some practice in, and knowing how to gear your units will make a world of difference. It's debatably the most important part of Guild v Guild, especially for the prep, and it makes a huge difference. So thank you guys very much for watching. I really hope this helped, and this will help you guys with your attacking and all that stuff. Hope it was insightful and all that fun stuff. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Helps me out a ton. And that's about it for me. Destined, signing out.